Today I'm going to go over the basics of boxing. So starting with the stance, going into movement, and then going into your basic punches. So start with your stance. You're going to start hip width, take a step out, hip width as well. Back leg rotates out 90 degrees so your feet make an L shape. You want to make sure that your shoulders and your hips are 45 degrees. And then you're going to lift up your arms to form an 11. So that back elbow comes to the rib cage to protect your rib cage. And your fist protecting your chin. And that other arm is just on the inside of the shoulder here, a little bit, so it's in a vertical position and a little bit further out so that anything that comes around you can protect yourself from that. So this is your basic stance. Your weight also is centered to make sure that you're not overcommitted to either side. So this is the most important thing in boxing, is that you're in a position where you can do everything. You can fire, you can move, you can block, you can defend yourself by slipping or weaving, and you can fire with power and not fall over. So when you move, you want to move but still stay in position. So you're moving the front foot first and then the back foot if you're going forwards. So you take a step out with your front and then same amount of space with your back. So you're going front, back, every step you take, you stay in position. Back, back, front, back, front, over to the right side, right, left, over to the left side, left, right. So whenever you're moving, you want to stay nice and close to the ground, nice and relaxed. Don't need to be stiff, okay, but you want to be able to move and be stable every step that you take. So that's the number one thing in boxing, your stance, stability, your ability to move, but being able to respond properly because you have the ability to. So, going into basic punches. So your arms form an 11. You want to keep your punches nice and tight, because A, it's going to protect yourself, and B, you're going to direct the power into the center point. And your body weight is always behind your punches. So from here, your guard, you're going to drive your hip. So your hip comes around, and this is one of the exercises that we often do, is just that hip rotation. So one leg's got to be solid to the ground for stability. The other hip can rotate, and the heel can rotate out to allow your hip to rotate. Okay, so like every other sport, baseball, golf, you got to use the rotation of your hips, as well as your arms and your legs are also supporting that, so your entire body together creates that power to drive into those punches. So you're rotating, your weight stays centered, and then you rotate back. Rotate that hip out, and that heel out. And then from the back, you do the opposite. Front leg doesn't move, the back leg can move, and you almost finish into a lunge position. So your legs are slightly bent to make sure that your muscles are supporting you, and you can drive from the legs, and you're rotating out, and can, just like a gun, your punches, if you're punching somebody or landing, is going to shoot back. So you have to make sure that you're nice and solid, and if you hit something, you don't go firing back. So, again, this is one of the exercises that we do. You rotate it on either side, making sure that your weight is centered, your head doesn't move, and you're able to go from one punch to the other, nice and smooth, still being balanced, and not wasting energy. Instead of throwing your punches, having your weight go everywhere. So, back to the straight punches. Going back to that 11, all you're going to do is drive this fist. You're hitting with the two knuckles. You're going to drive it into your opponent's nose to face, and it lands right in front of you. And that also helps to protect you, because if there's something in front of your face, likely you're not going to get hit. So, you're driving in, that's your jab. Okay, and it's just a small rotation because you're already in a 45 degrees. And then from the back, your punch, this is your power punch, because you have all this rotation to drive. So again, that elbow stays in, and you're rotating, driving that hip forwards, and then at the very end, you're landing in that kind of lunge position to support that punch and the power moving forwards. Okay, the other hands come back to protect your face. So your hands are always right by your face, especially when you're punching. And I always say this is like a sandwich because my shoulders are protecting this side and my face is always sandwiched between my arms. Okay, jab, cross. So these are your longest punches because obviously these are, that's the length of your arms. And then going into your other punches, which are slightly shorter, the hooks and the uppercuts. So they're punches coming from everywhere, straight, around, uppercuts come up. So going into the hook, same idea, your body does the same thing. You're gonna rotate over and it comes back to your guard. Rotate and then back. So it's almost like turning a steering wheel. This arm rotates out, you land, and then it comes back. And it may come out just a little bit to give you a little bit more room, but it rotates into that 90-degree position, okay, in front of your face. Again, protecting you from punches. And then back. We often don't throw the hook from the back, but if you do, you keep it a little bit, so as opposed to a wide hook, you're keeping it in a little bit closer. So following the line of your body, it comes around, and then you turn over at the end. Again, often we don't throw this because it opens us up a lot. Uppercuts. So we're dropping for maybe 2 inches, maybe. And then as your hip rotates, you're gonna turn, drive it straight up. Okay, so it's just a tiny dip, and you're taking that hip and driving it out. Your elbow's inside, not out here. So inside, and it lines up, so your body's behind your punch. Okay, so you can go from with all the punches, you can throw from the face, to the face or to the body. So you can also drive the uppercuts to the body. Same idea, but it goes out a little bit more because again, you're going to the body. Backhand, same idea, to the body. That hip rotates and drives forward or right up to the face. Up, just a little bit more of a loop and a kind of like a J shape. Okay, again, the elbow stays in, and like a gun, you gotta align it so that elbow stays in and your hip is driving that punch forwards, up. So those are your basic punches as well as your stance and how to move. And from there, you practice it, you put it together and slowly practice so that you're being consistent with all of your movements. So you're throwing the punches in proper positioning, you're turning the hips, you're loaded, so your legs are loaded and you're not throwing punches up in the air, and you're able to drive with your body. So that's the very basics. I hope you got a lot out of that. And then follow along. I am trained with Nat, and I'll post more videos about what to do after this. So how to practice and how to develop from here. Thanks very much for tuning in. I'll see you later.